We'd say like I'm some sort of child prodigy entrepreneur. Just get it done. Like, she's my wife. Nothing like Fortnite or like you guys are crushing it right now. Well done. Just do it.
So hello Mr. Sidney, welcome to our podcast. This is our sixth episode, on Outside the Classroom, and we're very honored to have you. So thank you for sparing time.
Welcome. You guys are crushing it right now. Well done. You got a 1.33k subscribers
Yeah,
right
you've
now?
done your research, right?
Yeah. Really good.
So we have 5 different segments.
Mm-hmm.
So our first segment will delve into your professional life and your life at school.
Mm-hmm.
Then we'll move on to Outside the Classroom, our flagship segment.
Yeah.
Then we'll move on to like a lighter segment discussing some of your likes, dislikes, and rapid fire questions, as you might have seen in Mr. Peter's podcast. Then we'll move on to some memorable moments in your life. And then lastly, we'll ask you like some debatable, controversial questions about technology, AI, and some other specialties.
Nice.
So let's move on to our first segment, which is insights into your personal life.
Mm-hmm.
So what was your journey to teaching design like? Why did you teach design particularly?
It's interesting, and like, where do you start? I think, how did we get here? How did we get to teaching is a long story. I don't know if we've got time for everything, but essentially, I kind of fell into teaching. I had a very different career path. I wasn't gonna join teaching. I was actually gonna join the army, join the military. I come from a long line of family who service. My grandfather was in World War II. He actually served in Burma during fighting the Japanese around that time. So he actually came into India from Mumbai, you know, the gateway of India, Mumbai.
Mm-hmm.
So he came in on troop ship there, took a train to Calcutta, and then would fight his way through the Burmese jungle with the Indian army over there. So there's some tie there to the military, but also tied to India there, which sort of almost feels like I was destined to be here anyway. So that's kind of where I was heading, and I was at university. I've been doing like things like Army Cadets, university. I was studying actually a degree called International Politics. So you might have heard about this as social science, international relations theory, those sorts of things. So I was very interested in how like humans organize ourselves. Nothing to do with design, nothing to do with technology. But in that study, I was very interested in technology. I was doing stuff like you guys, like coding clubs, robotics clubs. In fact, me and some friends would just like mess around with old PC parts and build computers back in the day. We'd try and set up our own like servers and stuff, and like try and get around the school networks and firewalls, which is funnily enough, I'm doing a lot of protecting against students from doing exactly what I used to do as a kid, which is hilarious. But yeah, no, so yeah, we made our own game when we were like grade 8 or something like that, using like a code which is like obsolete now called Lingo. But we ended up just like playing that in school the whole time. And that was fun. That's what taught me like, okay, this is interesting. Programming is interesting, this is fun, I can create something with it. But we also ended up selling stuff, like this is like pay to play. So we would have our friends pay money to like buy certain like level up kits and things like that. Exactly. So that's when we're like, this could be like something like we could do. So that was really interesting. And I think kids these days have that more opportunities to do that, but back then it was all for scratch. So yeah, we made some money off the game, which was fun. I was like, okay, let me try and do this. So but yeah, how did I get into design? Well, like I said, like I had a completely different career chalked off, but I knew I enjoyed this side of things. So I was trying to marry my like career path with the army with technology and do something around like communications, around signals sort of thing. So that's kind of the path I was going down. And then I took a break from uni. So basically, after I finished university, graduated. Sounds old now, but 2014 I graduated. I know, it seems like miles back for me. It seems like yesterday. But and then I was thinking of like, okay, I don't want to go straight into the army after university. I want to travel around. Like I just finished my dissertation. You guys will experience that soon, I'm sure. So you just finish your 20,000 words, and the last thing you want to do is go straight into the workplace. All my friends had travelled around. I was like, let me do some travelling around. I'll see what's out there. So I was actually applying to teach English abroad, just do something a bit different. And one of my old college professors was like, hey, I'm in India right now. And he was teaching out here, teaching English. Do you want to come to India instead of, because I was asking for references there. I was like, yeah, why not? So I actually came to India before, straight after I graduated, like 5 days after I graduated. I was in Mumbai.
Okay.
And I was completely underqualified, had no idea what I was doing. I was like, like brand new city, brand new place. And through that, I ended up working with a different school, setting up some of their schools, going around to lots of schools across Maharashtra.
Poda, right? I believe.
Yeah, it was Poda, Poda International School. And we actually helped set up the Worli school, the new school in Worli ORT. So I was one of the founding teachers over there. And that's when I was like, that's it, like this is what I want to do. Like, not going back to the UK and like signing my 20s away with the army. I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna make a difference because you could see it. Like if you spend a couple of hours with helping someone else understand something. I know teachers say this all the time, but there's that light bulb moment when someone's struggling with a problem and then you go, this is you provide that solution. Or you go, it clicks. It's like this is rewarding. This is amazing. So that's when I ended up going back to the UK, doing my PGC, my teacher training, so postgraduate certificate in education. Did that for 3 years, worked over there, specialised in computing because that was fun and the UK curriculum had just updated itself. So yeah, I know I don't know how much teacher talk you want me to go into, but essentially that's what I was doing. That's how I got into teaching, but I actually qualified as a primary school teacher, not as a technology teacher or a computing teacher or design teacher. It was just something I really enjoyed doing and sort of specialised in while going through that process. That's kind of the backstory, that's kind of my origin story, I guess. There's a little bit more of how I ended up in Oberoi.
Yeah, we'd love to know how you ended up in Oberoi.
So when I was at Poda, there was another teacher who joined, my wife, future wife to be. So we ended up meeting over there. And then when I went back to the UK, she came to the UK with me, we lived over there. And then we were living in the UK and thought, hey, let's go back to India, meet her family, her in-laws and those things like that. So I hadn't been there. So in 2019, we moved back to Mumbai, and that's how we came in. Yeah.
Lots of back and forth.
Exactly. Do you guys know who Mr Akanksha is?
Yeah, I have heard of
Yeah.
Akanksha Foundation, and that's how I think I know.
You know the Akanksha Foundation? Yes, so I volunteer with the Akanksha Foundation as well.
Yeah.
But Miss Akanksha, LNL teacher here in our school, if you do know her, grade 8, grade 9 and grade 10 students will know who she is. She's my wife.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in case that's a surprise you guys.
Yeah.
If you knew, then great. But that's just my
So
wife.
you, initially when you came to Bombay, it must be very different from UK, it's a very bustling city, just from here, horns everywhere and all of that. So were you a little like overwhelmed about it, or what was it?
Yeah, I come from like a countryside in the UK, like Bristol, Somerset side is really quiet. Like I know everyone in my village, pretty much. So to come to Mumbai at like 21 was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like actually, I hadn't even like really visited London much. I know you think it's a capital city, you probably visit, but like once or twice. Coming to Mumbai was overwhelming in terms of just everything's happening all at once. Like if you're easily overstimulated, like Mumbai can certainly like just keep you on your toes. Lots going on. But there's always something to do. Like it's always interesting. Like if you wanna stay in one part of the city, that's quite easy. But if you explore around, there's so much to do, so much to see.
Definitely, yes.
And that's what I really loved about Mumbai was that every time I went to like a different area, every time I meet someone new or like go out somewhere, it's like, oh, this is a new part. So it's just always like another adventure. Like for me, that was great to sort of experience a new city like Mumbai.
Yeah.
And I think there isn't a lot. I think maybe if you've grown up here, maybe you don't see it as much. But when you're coming from outside, there's not many places in the world like Mumbai. Like I'm sure there are in like Brazil, South America, other parts. But most of the cities we see nowadays are like organized. They're in a way where people are supposed to flow through them, which means it leaves opportunities for people to mix and mingle. So, for example, London is just too. People say, "Oh, why do you live in London?" It's like, well, because it's too pristine. It's like Disneyland almost. Like it's too manufactured. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and if you're open to that and you're new to it, then there's so much adventure over here, so much to see, and so much to do. So I don't know if I'm convinced you to fall in love with your own city, but I love Mumbai. I've always loved Mumbai. I've been here for like 10 years almost now, and I don't see anywhere else in the world that is like Mumbai.
It's
So
always interesting to hear a foreign perspective.
Yeah,
Living here, we don't acknowledge our city enough.
That's correct. We're always swearing at the city. Oh, he's honking. Oh, he's doing this. But it makes sense. You're right.
it grows on you. It grows on you. Like, yeah, I guess after a while you can, but then you remember, like, I guess maybe for you guys, but like, we're so privileged to be over here and doing something different.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm sure as soon as you go to university and you travel away, you'll be like, oh, if I was in home right now, if I was in Mumbai, this, you know, yeah, maybe, let's see.
So going back to your childhood experiences, you mentioned that you were like a childhood entrepreneur. You sold games. So could you elaborate a bit more on that and like how you got the idea to sell the games and like the business?
Were your parents against it by any chance? Because coming from a military background, they'd always want you to go into the military as well. So
yeah, it's really interesting. Especially this is a time like before it's normalized. I'm sure your parents as well still don't fully like have normalized it themselves, but this is way before. Like this is when we have big chunky PCs. I'd spend a lot of time indoors working on a computer, like working on the code, working on the design with friends. Like it was a very social thing. It wasn't like I was on my own, but again, you'd say like I'm some sort of child prodigy entrepreneur. I certainly wasn't. I was I guess a bit of a rabble rouser, I guess I'd say. I was very different in my thinking. I was very energetic. I always wanted to move around. Well, I couldn't sit still. I wanted to keep on doing something. So if the teacher's talking, and I mean, sure you've had this, you know, they're in front of the classroom, and they're you know, whatever, 40 minutes of just talking at you, I couldn't focus for that long. I mean, now I'm moving around, like, I have to keep moving. So for me, I was always like, just excited, itching. So I'd go home, me and my friends would just start tearing things apart and just finding out how things work. Similar to your re-engineering club, like just taking it about how does it work, understand that. So it's a certain way of thinking that we had. And when you're doing it with friends, it's so much more excitable and interesting. So we just wanted to try something. And it wasn't like we had a plan, but we just found what was exciting to us, what made us click, what made us enjoy it. If I'm coming home from school and I'm running home just to try and build something, then that's obviously what my spark is.
What you want to do, yeah.
Exactly. And it's easier when you're just, troubleshooting, you work through problems, like, we're going to do this, and this guy's going to do. So it was all like fun for us. Like, it was never a job, it was never something that my parents, I don't know if they were as supportive. Like, they would certainly like go outside, go play. Like, very strange to see kids around those times, like, early 2000s, like being indoors. Like, everyone was outside playing. Like, me and my friends would just be inside playing and working on something. And it only happened to be a profitable way is that when a lot more, like, as that community grew and as a lot more people got excited about what we were doing, they wanted a piece of the action. And then we got fed up, like, our exams were coming up, we were like, okay, we have to stop this now, we have to finish it off. So we were like, what do we do with it? And then someone was like, hey, one of our friends was like, I want to keep this going, can I buy it off you? So we sold the source code, we sold all the designs, we sold everything to this other guy. And he was like, yeah, like other kid at school. And, he bought the game, and I think he carried it on for a while, but I think his exam period came, we stopped following it, and then straight after exams, straight into college, straight into university. So I don't think we ever picked it up again after that. But I think it's just giving kids a chance to explore what they enjoy. That could look like very different things. It could be kids who want to do something outside, or you guys doing something like this, or working with code, working with computers. But as long as you're having fun and you're enjoying it, and there's a balance. Again, my parents were probably looking out for me, rightly so, making sure I was healthy, eating.
Playing it safe,
yeah. But I couldn't stay away from it. So that's the
That's actually the true passion that comes out. That's when it comes into play.
That's it, yeah.
So now let's just come back to the present. What is everyday life for you in school? How does it look?
And also, what do you actually do in school? Because many people don't know what you do.
What do I actually do? That's a really interesting question. So I'll go a little bit back to 2019. I came to Oberlin National School as a primary teacher originally, as a technology integrator. So in the primary school, teaching technology, teaching ICT skills. And that's probably where some of you would know me from, is working with you. And then in in our school, in a big organization like Oberoi, there is so many working parts, so many different people moving on. That sometimes helps to have managers that work with different teams. So there's a role called Head of Education Technology being how technology is used in the classroom, in the school environment. Smaller schools might not need someone to be in that position, but it really helps to have someone who knows education and knows technology. We have IT department guys, we have technicians, we have network engineers, we have people who know technology really well, but don't know the education side. Like, you know, they're amazing at what they do, but you ask them to, how does this benefit kids? It might be like, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
So you need the education side, so you need people who really understand education, which is where my training is, but who also know how the technology works, which is perfect for me. That's what it does. So that role happened around a couple of years ago. It's my second year as the digital literacy lead. That's my official title, digital literacy lead here at Oberoi in this campus, and that is an offshoot from that head of education technology role. So in other international schools, you have head of education technology. We have IT directors or director of education technology. So that's the sort of role I'm doing. So anything to do with technology that impacts education, impacts you, your devices, your MacBooks, network, those sort of things, I would be doing something around that, making sure that teachers and students have a seamless experience. So you probably don't see me in the classrooms as much, but a lot of just making sure your exams are going well. Yeah, just making sure, like, if there's no problems with the IT, it's a good thing, and I'm doing my job well. Like, if there's no problems, you're like, this is good, then I'm doing my job well. If there's an issue and you're like, this is not working, then that's when you'll see me jumping in to make sure it goes well.
We just go a little off track here.
Yeah.
So can teachers see what we search? Because we got friends playing pranks all the time. It's not actually us, but they just search something on the laptop. Can you all see what we search on school Wi-Fi?
If I tell you the answer, then you might know the truth and know what we. So no, we can't. So there are technologies and software out there that will allow us to do it, and parents can install this software no problem if they wanted to. Like the technology does exist. I don't feel the best way is surveillance. Like, it comes down to philosophy then. Like, it's over privacy and freedom and surveillance. I don't know if kids or students learn best when they've got someone on their shoulder. Like, sometimes you're gonna explore. Sometimes you need to like go to that. It's all about balance and responsibility. If I could trust students not to mess around, not to do musty, then there'd be way less.
I see the Hindi stuff now. Hindi test later.
So as far as like keystrokes and see everything you type in, no, certainly not. Like that would be overkill software that we would need to install, unless like we felt the need to. So like if everyone's going bonkers and people are doing, then we would need to I would need to have harder measures in place. Right now, the system we have in place doesn't mean I can see everything on your screen unless I'm connected to it. So unless I need to. So if the teacher's in your class, they open up their device, they connect to yours. Because Apple is so good on their security as well, a little plug for Apple, I guess, over here, you'll get a warning on your screen that says your screen is being observed. So anytime that happens, because privacy is so important, you'll know when the teacher is observing your screen. It's not like you're gonna go home and they're gonna be able to see it. It doesn't happen at all. It's only when you're on the network, when you're in this environment, that's when a teacher can connect if they need to. Please don't do any musty now. You know the truth. Sometimes there we can see it, but it depends. And if obviously there's a safeguarding issue and there's an issue we need to get involved in, then we would have to increase those measures on particular students. But hopefully we don't have to resort to that. Everyone's going to be responsible and well behaved and not use their devices for other things.
So, and also you mentioned Apple and that you were like a fanboy of Apple. Could you we searched up and we found that you were an Apple certified educator, so could you expand on that experience?
I am. It's really funny. I was actually full Android before coming to Oberoi, actually, which is really funny.
You're on Team Apple.
I was converted. I've always been Android, always been Windows. But once you're in the ecosystem, I think it gets you. I think it's something they do really well. I've now got Apple Watch, iPhone, MacBook, AirPod, Apple TV, HomePod. I got everything now. So once you're in that ecosystem, it's so easy to sync up. So through that, teachers can become Apple teachers, where they provide resources on how to deploy Apple teachers better in the classroom. Apple resources in the classroom. So how teachers can get upskilled is like level 1. So I did level 1 Apple teacher, and there's another level where you become an Apple Distinguished Educator. So I'm an Apple Distinguished Educator as well, 2023, which just means you're using Apple technologies in like a different way or a unique way, and you help other educators around the world. And then I went the level further, an Apple Professional Learning Specialist, where I also support other schools in India with their deployment of Apple products as well. So that's been a really interesting challenge as well, supporting other schools and how they deploy. So that's what these different roles do. And we're an Apple Distinguished School, the first one in Mumbai, first one in Maharashtra. So we're very proud of that. 4th in India. So that's really, really cool. And now other schools are starting to become Apple Distinguished School, and I've sort of helped those schools on their journey as well. So yeah, it's a very interesting way, but I think the technology needs to work for the environment, right? If technology doesn't work, if it becomes more of an issue, like I've worked on Windows systems, there's constantly crashing, constantly updates. Again, no disrespect to other brands, there are other brands available. But if that becomes an obstacle, like if it becomes more friction, and you guys can't learn and the teacher can't teach, then the best tool for the job would benefit. So I know Apple has their issues as well, but yeah, if you're asking, what I do with those, and like, if it works, it works. If it's a seamless experience for you guys and you guys can just connect and there's no issues, then it's the best tool for the job. I would like to see this space more developed for education. Right now it's all consumer-based, all business-based. If there was more specific focus on education, that would be great. Google Chromebooks was supposed to capitalize on that, but again, they've had issues with their deployment. So I mean, I'm not saying it has to be Apple, I'm open to the new ideas, but until another competitor can deliver the same, then I think we'll be having Apple products for a little bit longer. Yeah.
Please just tell the school to change the MacBooks now. They've become 8 years, 7 years old now. They just don't work. The school is not changing them. So if we ever forget our MacBook at home, it's like a punishment for us to use MacBook Airs. So
just give you a stone.
So it's the oldest one.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've talked a lot about your professional life.
Mm-hmm.
We'll move on to segment number 2, which is outside the classroom.
Okay,
Flagship segment.
It's our flagship segment. This is where the students and other teachers will get to know you better. Right?
Yeah.
So what does a day in your life look like outside school? Not in school, but at home. What do you do after going back home?
Yeah, it's coming straight to school first thing in the morning. I don't wake up at 4 a.m. I come straight to school, and after school's done, head home. Usually we try and do some sports, some fitness, some exercise. So right now a lot of badminton, a lot of squash, a lot of running, just trying to move. Because being a teacher, I was moving around the classrooms quite a lot, but now I'm in like an admin role. I'm sat down a lot behind the screen.
Supervising everything.
Yeah, but you tend to be hunched over like this quite a lot, and I've been having like back issues since I moved in. I know I'm not old yet, but like, there's times where you can really tell that as soon as the roles changed, my body has been like very still. So as soon as we leave school, it's like, right, how do I kind of move my body? How can I like do some sort of exercise to
do you not feel tired or burnt out after school? Because when we go home,
usually people just take a nap after
school.
school.
We're not able to do anything after school. So
I think if you do that, like then so it depends on how you manage. Like, so for me, I'm full of energy from school. I'm going to use that energy, just quickly do something like an hour badminton, an hour swim or gym straight after school. Because if I sit down, if I rest, then I'm gone. Like I'll stay, I'll watch TV or something, and then I won't want to move. And then that's it. And that's the problem with work, and like if you enjoy something you're doing, like your entire day is around that. So when you come home, you crash, you burn out, you just like do nothing. So it's like work, sleep, repeat. And like I really want to break that monotony and like, okay, let's do something different. Move around. It shouldn't come to any surprise that I love video games. I know, big gamer, PC gamer. So I just
favorites?
nothing like Fortnite or like what do you
nice
guys
one.
play?
No, that's a good one.
Yeah, I enjoy first-person shooters for sure. Like obviously COD. You guys are too young to be playing COD, so
I think all of us do play COD already.
so that's some of that, and there's a few other PC games out there that have that sort of military sort of simulation games that you can move. Yeah.
It's a subri version of Fortnite, but
Yeah. so there are things out there that we enjoy, and I've got friends in the UK that is really good to connect with as well. So like it is social. It's not just like I'm doing some time pass or I'm reading. Like it's a good way to connect with friends around the world. Jump on, hang out. And then that's honestly that's about it. I have family in Mumbai, so often go down and see them on the weekends. We have a little pet dog, so try and take her out and visit most of the city and at different parts around India. And I obviously travel around this part of the world a lot. So
you all have a dog at home, right?
not here in Goregaon, but my in-laws have a dog, so that's a big part of our life as well. So that would be, I guess, if you want to know a little bit about what I do. It's not exciting. It's just move your body, take some chill time for yourselves.
You seem like a very organized person. Do you have any tips to be organized? How do you organize your day?
I think just get it done. Like I know this is like common advice, but if you leave something till later, it will never happen. I just do it immediately, and I know you've probably seen that from like exercise. Like if I leave it for later, it won't happen. If I leave a task for later, it doesn't happen. If I leave it for the weekend, or I'm gonna fold my clothes later, or I'm gonna call this person later, or whatever, like it doesn't happen later. Like it has to happen right there in the moment. Do it in the moment, and that really helps me to make sure. And people say like, why don't you just do it later? I'm like, no, like if you do it later, it never happens, and then the house stays a mess, or jobs don't get done. But if you do it when you can, in the moment when you've got the energy, that's a big tip I've learned, just to making sure you're on it, and then you've got time later, then you can relax later, then it's not like as soon as you relax, like, oh, you gotta do this, you're like, so get it done straight away is a big thing. There's a lot of psychology out there of how like you can organize your life for better productivity as well, and a lot of them say the same thing. It's just taking care of the small things. Like if it's done, if your bed is made, your clothes are put away, then when you need to do something and you need to be productive, like there's no procrastination, there's no other jobs pending. Like you've got a clear window for some deep focus, and that's when it happens.
So, do you have any personal goals or aspirations that you work towards?
So you can feel free to keep it personal if you want. Like it is a little bit of a personal question. If you want to share, you can.
So right now my focus has been around education, the past 10 years focused on education. It makes a big difference, and that's what I'm really excited about right now. So I'm actually doing my master's degree, my second master's degree right now in education leadership. So the idea is to obviously hopefully go on to do something similar to what Mr. Patrick Pool's done. And my career in education to be around leading a school or leading a division or something along that line. So that would be really interesting to see, lead the learning. I'm already kind of doing it similar in my role at the moment. But yeah, I'd love to open my own school or run my own school one day. That would be cool. I know it sounds like it's an aspiration, but like something around
really
there.
Cool.
Yeah.
It can be a very tech savvy school.
Yeah, exactly. Do something different. I'd love to contribute to this field. I know if you're an entrepreneur, you want to change different areas, you want to disrupt different markets, those sorts of things. But I really feel like there's a real need for this area to be like there's something I can contribute over here. So that's where my energy, my focus is at the moment. So whatever I can do in this field would be amazing. Yeah.
I think it all comes down to contributing, like giving back to the society instead of just enjoying the whole time.
You should enjoy. You should take time for yourself, 100%. Because if your life becomes your work, then you don't. Like you said, I have nothing else to talk about. You're like, I went to work today. Like that's it. So you should follow your passions. You follow what they pursue. But if you're, sorry, I ran out of time. But if you follow your passions and then that becomes your work, it's great. But then, what else can you contribute to that area?
Okay, just before we go to the next segment, we just take a small break. Okay, so Mr. Sidney, I found it very interesting how you from a military background, how your grandfather went at war. Can you talk to us about how, like, he must have shared stories with you. Can you tell us some interesting story that he had?
Yeah, I don't know how much to say and how much he'll get into trouble with, or he's not here anymore. But one of the biggest stories he told us, he was a dispatch rider, which means he was helping with messages to the front line, back to headquarters. And he would ride a Royal Enfield Bullet, like that's how old the bike is. I know everyone buys bullets nowadays, but he would have a Bullet. And he actually fell off his bike one day because of, like, this was right up in northeast India, because of cows crossing the road. And yeah, really should be careful, but he actually pulled out his gun because he fell off his bike, and then the farmer was like do not like that. And I think that's what his favorite story is to tell us, is like that's the closest he came to conflict, to almost getting killed in World War II. Obviously that wasn't the only story he has around that, but like that's one that sticks with me, especially being in India now. Like, you know, it's very sacred, and like, you know, he understood that. But yeah, that's a very interesting story. Of like, yeah, like that was one he said. Another, like, again, it goes back to a lot to do with pairing for that time. It would have been very intense, but they would clear like minefields by hand. Like they would, if they had a minefield, they would be trained on techniques to sort of clear one by one, and they'd just literally be crawling through a field, just poking. And if they hit metal, then they would hit like. They'd be very careful, but like, that's what they were looking for. Then they would clear a path through these things. So that was one of the stories. And he said, like, during his training, you know, like he would be helping someone else, and then, like, again, too graphic, but like, you know, people's body parts missing, leg being blown off and things like that. So like, I don't know how exciting you want to hear about that sort of stuff, but yeah, yeah. I mean, it was a tough time for everyone. Like, war's never good, and as you see things happen around the world right now, we've almost not become desensitized to it, but we haven't had war in a long time. Like they said, the 20th century is like the bloodiest century in history. We've had, you know, my parents, my grandparents grew up in a time where conflict was inevitable. Like it was everywhere, and we've actually enjoyed. I know it doesn't feel like it, but we've enjoyed a very relative time of peace. I know it doesn't seem like they only put on the news is conflict everywhere, but this is probably one of the most peaceful times humans have ever experienced, which is why we're very lucky to exist in this time. But you know, like the face of warfare is changing. We've seen that in the Ukraine-Russia war, where people are using drones now. Like there's such a disconnect. I mean, they've always said it. There's such a disconnect from being in a situation when you're face first, you're crawling through it, to being now where you could.
Just stealthy attack, you know, you can do it from anywhere.
Yeah, remote control warfare. Like that's very interesting. I'm sure you guys will be growing up in an era where that becomes more and more normal. But you know, that's quite, as you saw about technology in the classroom. As technology grows, AI grows. You know, drones become more of a thing. Like I think that will be seen more around the world as a potential threat. I mean, there are advantages, especially someone in my field. We have to look at the advantages, but we also have to acknowledge there are some threats to both areas, and people misuse them in these ways and can use it to harm other humans. Then that's the real trouble. That's what the real danger. You know, everyone's worried about you guys cheating on exams, for example, plagiarism. Like that's nothing compared to what you could do. Yeah, definitely. So no, that's really interesting, and yeah, I'm not saying like it's going to be any different. I mean, it probably will look very different, but. Yeah, if you're talking about military experience, like there are stories that belong to that generation, and they could tell you some horror stories, I'm sure, which I don't feel like I can share too much, but like how much to share. And then there'll be stories that our generation have faced where we'll be dealing with very different challenges and very different threats, and just preparing everyone for that and being in a position where we can be critical thinkers and making sure we're not just taking everything blindly is really going to be really important. Yeah.
And I think that emphasizes your role over here as like a digital literacy lead. Like if you start at the base level and teach children from now onwards, then in the future we could avoid war and like ensure more peace.
Yeah, it comes. I mean,
the misuse of technology.
Yeah, And if you understand how it works, I think you have a tremendous advantage over those who don't.
Yeah.
If you want to be someone who's thinking forward, thinking in future careers, thinking in future jobs, future businesses and things like that, having the skills to understand, okay, what makes these motors spin, what code is working to make that work, or when you talk about AI, like what models, you know, even if you just understand the basics of like how it works under the hood, you'll be in a much better position to understand and prepare yourself against those things. Like it's not just, I mean, we're talking about two different subjects here, war and business, but you know, if you're a business person and you can see where the tide is turning, where technology is going, and you understand how it works, you'll be less afraid of it, less intimidated by it, and more able to capitalize on how it's going, and you know, and maybe that's what's happening in current conflict times as well. But yeah, it's a weird time to be alive.
Talking about weird times, another weird time was the pandemic.
Yeah.
So, how did you manage the transition from a normal school life where we come to school and learn from teachers to a completely online system?
That too, you must have had like a lot of kids, and kids are not that easy to handle. You know, half of them are, some are screaming at their mom, talking to their mother. Some is eating. Some
forget to put the camera on.
Yeah. So, how was that time for you? Can you just elaborate a bit?
It's funny. It was actually easier for students, and this goes back to what we were saying earlier. Like, if you've grown up around technology and you've experienced it and you've adapted to it, it becomes very easy to sort of pick it up and go forward. And I think that's what the unique position I was in during the pandemic. It was 2020. School had just been closed around March, and we had a lot of teachers, a lot of our leadership, which probably had never experienced this before, and was like, how do we get thousands of kids suddenly online learning from home?
Exactly.
And that's when tech played a huge part, and that's when the tech team really came into their own to provide those solutions. And again, you know, I'm probably one of the youngest guys on my team, and that's really because, you know, I grew up in that generation. I grew around tinkering things, grew around messing with code. So when everyone was like, "What do we do?" It was like, Sidney has loads of experience in this area. What would he do? And that's when I got a lot of calls. Like, how do we get online? And obviously Zoom was there. There's a lot of things we had to protect against Zoom bombing. We had to make sure there was protocols and policies in place. Like, it was all a massive learning experience for everyone, and it was great that, you know, people were willing to ask other members of the team, like, okay, this is what we want to achieve, how do we do it? And it comes from that. It's not like, oh, we know what we're doing. It was like everyone.
There's a lot of interdependence and bonding that grew.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was it was a tough time for everyone. Teachers did learn a lot how to do it, and they had to be adaptable. But it was the kids who were like, yeah, this is easy. Like, yeah, I'm firing up an app on my iPad. Like, okay, I press this button. Like, it was super easy for them. Whereas some teachers needed a lot more help. Like, you know, they'll be given host privileges to a kid, and the kid's like, yeah, I'm gonna go. Kids would be drawing.
They 10 to 20 years of teaching physically. That would be a big change.
Yeah, and they've retained a lot of it. Luckily, like, we were worried that as soon as we went back to normal school, like, we'd have to start all over again. But a lot of teachers really upskilled themselves through that time, and now, you know, we went straight from pandemic where, you know, everything was learning. Every day was a challenge. We had some amazing time where, you know, the community really came together. I remember the music teachers would put something on, and we, you know, we'd be streaming. We'd be like running like a small business. We would have like different broadcasts. We'd have different people coming in, and we'd be trying out loads of different software to have like an exhibition or something like that. So that was really cool.
We did online exams as well.
Yeah.
Those softwares. We had two different softwares actually.
Yeah.
There's ExamMate and there was one more. I don't know.
Yeah, IB exam and one. So now that's probably where the future of examinations would go, is move away from paper-based and go to exam. And I think what the pandemic did was basically just move that forward. Same with AI. Like, AI was, you know, AI's been around since the 1950s. It's just the pandemic really just pushed it forward to more consumer-based. So it's, I mean, hopefully it's once in a lifetime event. But we went from being, you know, very comfortable with how the situation was to suddenly everyone had to adapt. which almost was this perfect breeding ground for this new technology to be deployed with consumers. So yeah, we went straight into, you know, coming back to school, and it was great. We were like, okay, tech can take a bit of a break. Let's have less screen time. Let's focus on the learning that's been lost. And then it was like, oh, ChatGPT is a thing. And it was like, oh wow, like now we have to adapt to this brand new technology. And again, everyone's, you know, started off being very panicked. What is it going to mean? Well, you know, it's going to take my job, and these are things to being like, no, it's just you know. And I mean, it will get more powerful. Like I don't only you should write it off as just like another tech tool. Like this sort of technology does have a great potential to change a lot of industries, a lot of areas, and I think it will. But at the moment, you know, you sort of grappling. It's been 2 years now, and we haven't seen like an overhaul of society and like everything changed. Like it's still very much like people are learning to live with AI. And what's interesting is that, you know, parents say nowadays, you know, oh, you know, you guys grew up in a generation where you don't know a time before the internet. Kids now in nursery JKG won't know a time before AI.
Exactly.
That's how scary it is. Like they'll grow up like AI is just a thing that's always existed. Like, how did anyone live without ChatGPT?
Exactly.
Like,
right now, also we're thinking that if you would have had ChatGPT back then, everything would have been so much quicker.
It would have, and that's the thing. Like, do you lose anything by, you know, do you lose those skills that you
lose
apply?
a bit of creativity, I think, maybe, you know, because ChatGPT is doing the work for you.
Yeah.
Again, it comes down to misuse, right, and balance. If you're the type of person, you know, I mean, maybe not the type of person, but it's a type of situation where you can be quite lazy and you're like, I just want to write it for me, then you might lose those skills. So, I mean, if I can go to a coding example, it's like, we know HTML to build websites, and it's just painful. Every time you write a little bracket, like, the syntax can be just so annoying.
Exactly.
You know what it is, you know the language. Having ChatGPT generated for you, for routine stuff can be quite beneficial.
So it's good as like a help on the side, not for like main
routine autonomous tasks. If you're doing the same thing again, if I'm if I have to keep like new line, I know it, I understand it, then it's fine. If, you know, I was learning a new language, I was learning C actually. I was trying to learn try something new, learn a bit of C, and I was really struggling with a few concepts. And the professor on the course was, you know, obviously you have to make an appointment, you have to write them an email. And instead, you could query a chatbot, not to give you the answers, but you could be like, oh, this is a concept I'm really struggling, could you explain a little bit more? And that would be a nice way. And then, okay, explain it to me like I'm, you know, like in grade 10 or I'm 5 years old, and then you'd be like, okay, so it can help augment your knowledge construction, like it can speed up a lot of the process, instead of knowledge being just held by one professor, or you have to go searching through multiple different forums, Stack Overflow for the answer, and you have to keep on, or you have to ask your friends. What I can see it happening is making education more equitable for a lot of people who don't have access to top institutes or top, you know, access. Like if you could just query, like, help me understand how this works at my level, what we could see is actually it benefiting tremendously people who need that. And, you know, I mean, you could learn. You know, I learned C much faster than I would if I was stuck in a book. And I mean, the processes are sped up for sure, but like, you know, that's just one potential if you apply it in the right way. Sorry, I could keep talking about this for a long time, but
all of this is very interesting because we don't know a lot about this. He's a CS student, but I don't really know much. So.
If you're not a CS student, it probably seems but you could apply to anywhere. You could apply anywhere.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next segment now, which is likes and dislikes. And this is for people to know you much better. So we'll start off with your favorite movie.
Oh, good question. Forrest Gump.
Forrest Gump?
Yeah, have you ever seen it?
Yeah, of course.
Okay,
Any particular reason for that? Inspires you in some way or what?
Yeah. It is one of those coming of age stories. It's about a guy who, you know, everyone sort of writes off as like, you know, he's not going to do well and does this amazing things. Like he just keeps on defying the odds, and he comes out on top in the end as like a real winner actually. You know, underdog stories like that are always fun for everyone to get behind and watch. But that story in particular is, I mean, it just sort of ties in all the different times of things. I mean, like you can really relate to it. Sorry, it's meant to be quick fire, rapid fire. But Forrest Gump.
Yes.
What's your favorite book?
The Hobbit.
Pretty.
Lord of the Rings.
Are you much of a reader, or you just read?
I'm a huge reader, which is hilarious. My wife, who's a LNL teacher, a language and literature teacher, she loves non-fiction, and she loves fiction, and she'll read so many different stories around fiction, and she'll have a really nice time learning about it. I hate fiction. I can't watch fiction. Is like because I want to know like what actually happened. Like if I'm going to read a book around the Cuban Missile Crisis, I don't want to hear about someone's life story like what actually happened, facts, events, how that.
Something you can apply in real life.
Yeah, so I read a lot of non-fiction books, and that's where a lot of like understanding of different perspectives comes from, of different events, and like that's what really excites me. So if we're at an airport, my wife will be reading something something nice, something. Oh, that's a nice book, and then mine would be like third generation, whatever, some like the third industrial revolution or something like that. And you'd be like it's just a really heavy title, like AI or something like that, and I'll be reading about that. So it looks like I'm really intelligent. I'm not, but I just like reading and understanding like different perspectives and how things happen. Yeah, a really interesting book. I don't know if you're interested in this one. Book recommendation: Chip War. Chip Wars. It's really just about how the silicon chip was invented back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and how it's such an important way of important to our life now. And there's chips in everything, and how
So more technology based.
Yeah. If China invaded Taiwan tomorrow, then the entire industry would stop. Like, it'd have a huge impact on us as a.
There's a ripple effect.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, sorry, I'm going off track over here, but yeah, that's my favorite.
So your favorite food?
Does it have to be international, Indian?
Anything.
I'm going to start with my favorite Indian food, Mumbai. Has to be vada pav.
That's a very good one.
And it's only here, only Mumbai does it. Like,
of
it
course.
is the king.
Special for vada pav.
Yeah.
Do you go to any particular place, you're craving vada pav, then I'll go here.
Yeah.
Where do you go?
There's a guy in South Mumbai, right by the sea link. Yeah. It's quite famous, I think, actually. I don't know the name of the guy, but as soon as you go on the ceiling, there's a vada pav stand there. And my previous school was just outside that, so every morning I'd go and get like a vada pav, or like idli, or mendu vada,
It's filling, it's satisfying, it's a very good dish.
And there's no one else who does Mumbai street food like Mumbai.
Mumbai street food is just
it's the best.
Yeah.
What's your favorite travel destination?
I don't know if I've travelled everywhere enough to sort of have like one particular place. Like each place has like certain memories to me that make it really, really important. But I love beaches, being outside, being by the sea. So anywhere like people like mountains. I'm a beach guy. I like being by the sea. Goa is amazing. And I know that's a stereotypical because I'm in India, and I'm sure there are other beaches around the world, Maldives, Bali, there are other places around the world, but there's something about Goa that is it is magical. Like, it's a really chill space. I would go to Goa every day. Like, if we could open an international school in Goa, that's where I would be.
Perfect, yeah. Okay, that was pretty much it. Now we move on to your memorable moments in life. This is like to take you down a trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
So one memorable moment from your teaching career. You can tell the story again and again. Something that's very memorable.
Again, I did my teacher training in a city school in UK, Gloucester, and I don't know if it's a memorable experience or like a good time, but basically I was teaching a maths class, grade 2 maths class. It was quite a rough neighborhood, but I loved working there, and it was like that was where I really felt like I was making a really big impact. And there was a guy trying to climb over our fence into the school, and then I was like, okay, what's going on over there? And then running behind him were a bunch of civilian plainclothes police officers chasing this guy, grabbed him. They had tasers. They were pulling him, and my kids were like, Mr. Sidney, those men are beating each other up outside the window. I was like, oh god, this guy was getting arrested and he was trying to escape through the school, and I was like closing the blinds, like nothing to see there, just let the police deal with that, like. So that was fun. There's experiences over there. I don't know if that's a memorable teaching experience of like
No,
I
no,
really-
definitely. So you were teaching and then something like
that was
this.
it. So
No,
yeah, so those things happen. Yeah.
What about one memorable moment from a school trip?
School trips. I was recently on the grade 9 Pondicherry trip last year. Obviously, residentials we didn't have any for the past couple of years.
yeah.
Grade 3 before that when I was with primary. Yeah.
One memorable moment from a vacation.
I skydived over the Himalayas.
Oh,
That was pretty cool, yeah. You knew that already. Jason already knew that.
This is too bad. We have to fire this. We can't be stalking every teacher like this.
So it was in Nepal. I went up to Kathmandu, Pokhara, and then the Annapurna range over there. There was a skydiving trip, which is really cool. So we jumped out of the helicopter, and then came down. That was really cool.
Are you like an adrenaline junkie or something like that? You like to do all of this?
Yeah, I would do it like in a heartbeat. Like if there's something like dangerous and like you're like, oh, it's high. Yeah, I'll do it. Scuba diving. I've done a lot of diving, but it's fun. But I'm like scuba diving, skydiving, any adventure sport. Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
Anything.
Yeah.
What's your most memorable moment at university?
At university, I was there for 3 years. You do a lot, like you learn a lot. It was the sort of first time moving away from home. You guys, when you do it, you'll experience, I'm sure, lots of different stories of how you meet lots of different people, and then you balance studying. So I mean, it was a really coming of age as well, where I goofed off for my first year. Second year, I was like, oh, I should probably study now. And then my third year, I was like, okay, now I need to buckle up and get sorted. Luckily, I passed with the right grades, but it took a lot for me to sort of grow into that. So many different stories, so many different moments. The biggest one for me was, you guys have Spotify, but we had the free version. It had some adverts on Spotify, and it's like, hey, if you're 18 to 24 and you want to travel the world, there's a international development opportunity in Tanzania. So I was like, oh, I want to go to Tanzania. So I signed up on my second year of uni. I signed up to go and do 10 weeks in Tanzania. Yeah.
I'm born in Tanzania.
You're born in Tanzania?
Yeah.
Mambo.
Jambo.
Oh, yeah. So a little bit, not much Swahili, I've forgotten all that, but that was my second year. Yeah, Dar es Salaam, we went over there, we did a 10-week health and sanitation project.
Where were you in Dar es Salaam?
So Dar es Salaam, we landed in Dar es Salaam, went to Morogoro for our base camp, and then went all the way to Dodoma for the actual project. And it was in a, we were traveling 3 hours off-road, somewhere near Dodoma. And that was a really cool project, but 10 weeks away, I was with a other group of people, so there's a group of Tanzanians from Dar es Salaam, and then there's a group of British, students. So we sort of mixed together, but that was the first time they would see outside the city community. That was an amazing experience. And I'd recommend doing something you have service and action. You guys are doing amazing stuff as well. But we spent 10 weeks over there, and we were meant to build health and sanitation projects. But one thing I learned was that it doesn't matter how much intention you have. The people over there were already doing an amazing job. They didn't need our help. The locals could build that.
Yeah, definitely.
10 seconds faster than that. Why are you flying?
Have you heard of Maasais and all the people over
there? Yeah.
Maasais?
So they were a bit further north than us. Another group I know and work with them. We were with another tribe called the Go-Go tribe. But when we made the biggest impact was in the classroom. So there was a school there. We were helping the kids, and we could actually offer more benefit to the kids when we were in the classroom rather than out in the sun building these projects, because you don't need experts to come and do manual labor. You need the experts to come in and do these other jobs. So that's when I was like, okay, education is more of a game changer than just sending money abroad or sending labor over there. It doesn't make a difference. That's when you're making a real impact, was in the classroom. That was a big and that was the game changer for me. That's when I woke up and realized that I need to focus, I need to study, because if I graduate without the right grade, then I'm not going to get the job I want to do, I'm not going to be able to do the things I want to do, I'm not going to be able to change my career if I don't have that passing grade. So my entire third year, I just stopped.
Buckle down.
Yeah, buckle down, and then luckily crushed it.
Let's move on to some debatable questions. Last segment for today.
So, what is your favorite school that you've taught in? I know this can be a really controversial question, so you can tell us if you wouldn't want to answer it. So, you've worked at Podar, Widden Primary
Yeah,
School,
yeah.
and Aurora.
So I'm pretty new in my career. I've only taught 3 schools per se. Like I've done a lot of placements elsewhere. Like I've moved around the UK with different placements for my teacher training. With Bodo, we moved around with different schools. It has to be Oberoi, and I'm not saying that because I'm biased or anything, but like this is the longest time I've been in a school. Partly because of the pandemic, partly because I'm enjoying it so much. No. If you want the short answer, it's Oberoi for sure. This is an amazing city. I love the city, and I love what I'm doing over here. You know, it's tech. It's making a difference. Kids are awesome. Kids are awesome anywhere. Like wherever we go. Like I can tell you all my favorite students from different schools. I'm sure, but this is it.
I think your passions for tech and teaching have really joined together well over here.
Yeah, it's done well, and like it's when you can impact the work you do the way you can here, then you can definitely make a difference. And I think that's the likewise for any job you guys have. Anywhere you go, if you're starting at the bottom, you have to learn the ropes, you have to go through the motions, and you have to do all that. But when you get to a point when you're in leadership or you're running your own business or anything like that, that's when you think, actually, you have a say in what you're going to be able to do. And I think organizations, and especially schools that allow more voices, and I'm sure we have teacher voice, student voice, is so important, because when you have a stake at the table, then you feel like you're worthwhile, then you feel like you can make change, and that's why those schools stick out for me the most, where I've been able to have the most impact, definitely.
So what are your thoughts on the current education system? Is it better or worse than the past?
It's a very controversial question. It depends who you ask. Everyone's going to probably say like their way of education is the best, because that's their experience. I grew up in a time where it was sort of on the cusp of both. We were very much in an exam-based system where it was you had to learn exactly what the syllabus was saying, and then you had to sort of regurgitate it at the end of the year in a 2 or 3 year exam. Like, have you assimilated enough knowledge to pass? I certainly don't feel like that's the best way to learn, just in general. Like, that has its place, rote learning has its base, but like, when you become a teacher, you learn how to learn, and you learn how humans learn in particular, and constructing your own knowledge. Every experience I've had where I've enjoyed education has been when I'm in charge of my education and I'm constructing my own knowledge. It's going at a pace so I can do it. And when you have a stake in your own, you have a stake in your own education, your own learning, that's when it's more impactful, and that's when it happens. So I don't want to be at the front of the class teaching you guys, this is how this is done, this is how C works, and going through like again in the computer science example, like me transmitting knowledge to you isn't the best way for me to teach you. The best way for you to teach is like, I'm really enjoying this, I'm really passionate about this, I want to build something with this, how do I do it? And then you ask those questions, like, I don't know how to do something. Okay.
Guidance,
and then, you have a teacher over here who can help with that, okay, this is what you do, this is what you, or
I think this is also where AI shines a lot, because you can learn at your own pace.
Exactly. So if you ask me, is the current education system, it depends what system you're talking about. If you're talking about the UK national curriculum, you talk about the IB, you talk about CBSE, ICSE, like it depends where it happens. What I would say that the best education systems are the ones that put students first, and the ones that allow students to explore and construct knowledge on their own at their own time. If you reduce everything to numbers and exams, I know I struggled with exams a lot. I really struggled. I couldn't regurgitate. Like if you asked me about a topic, I could talk about it. I could write essays on it, no problem. Write 5,000 words, no problem. But if you asked me to regurgitate in an hour, like everything on neoliberalism, I'd be like, well, I couldn't do it. But I could write a paper on it, no problem. Easy.
Just one last thing. This is like an outside the classroom tradition. Can you please look at the camera and give us one piece of advice for anyone who's watching the video? One piece of advice.
Just do it. Enjoy life. Enjoy what you want to do. Just go for it. Whatever it is. Doesn't matter if you don't know what it is. Just do it.
Okay,
perfect.
That was amazing.
That is a quote.
Yes. Thank you so much.